Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And in this one, I've got my top 5 PvP specs for the Shadowlands beta. These are specializations that are by far and above and beyond performing amazingly when it comes to player versus player combat. However, I do leave this with a warning. It is the beta that I am assessing this information. Still just about under a month from the game launching. And even after the game launches, these are likely to change. And of course, there's only room for 5. There are a lot more than just 5, but these were the 5 that were standing out to me. And what I'm going to be doing is just noting some things about them, giving you a bit of the warning signs of something that possibly would get nerfed along the way. So let's get started with this list. We've got number 5. Coming in on the Marksmanship Hunter for the best PvP specialization. Now, this is one that it's got a lot of surprise factors to it. So the main reason this specialization is so powerful at the moment is that aimed shot with double tap and the Kyrian Covenant ability, allowing you to shoot through walls and increasing your crit, basically just kills you within the first couple of attacks. This is something that is just so blatantly obvious that I feel like there's no way it doesn't get nerfed. And there are significant downsides to the Marksmanship Hunter, like being stationary, players line of sighting you when your Kyrian ability is on cooldown, and if you don't win immediately at the start, you're likely to fall behind depending on how they tune it. It's also a specialization that's performing very well in PvE. So there's a lot that's going great for it right now. If Shadowlands is out right now, you would be having a blast on this specialization. It's absolutely insane the amount of damage that you can really pump out, with Chimera Shot making a return as well in the rotation. But I give it a big warning that this is one that I feel like will get nerfed unless they decide, you know what, Marksmanship Hunters have been underperforming, BM's had its time in the limelight for PvE, and Survival's been up there in PvP. Unless they've decided we want it to be this big pumper spec where it just runs people over, then maybe it will end up being that good. But usually things that die this, I say that, and then BFA Destruction Warlocks, they lasted a pretty long time. So maybe it doesn't get nerfed. If you've been wanting to try Marksmanship Hunter, though, it is looking like a solid specialization. Coming in at number 4, we've got the Frost Mage. Now, this is one that players aren't really talking a lot about, but if you look deeper into its conduits more specifically, it's getting a lot of durability oriented passives, like healing on your shields, healing in your ice block, reducing the cooldown of your blink, on top of a base kit that already doesn't allow anybody to move when it's casting literally any spells in the game, with alter time returning as well and mirror images becoming a damage reduction cooldown. Frost mages are really hard to kill, and on top of that, they've got legendaries that increase their ice lance damage by a huge magnitude. And this is a specialization that nobody's really talking about because hunters just kind of one-shot you. I mean, pretty much everything just kind of one-shots you in the beta. But the consistent pressure of this, the ease of its damage rotation now, and its increased durability. I mean, Mage is already a hard class to kill, unless maybe you're a beta Marksmanship Hunter. Now it's borderline impossible. It's got great synergies with things like Subtlety Rogues, which are awesome. Great synergies with Discipline Priests, which are awesome. Obviously, Rogue Mage Priest. It could play in casters with Affliction and Destruction and Shadow Priest. This is a specialization that synergizes so well with other amazing specializations in the game, with having its own base kit being fantastic and all of these new additions making it kind of just borderline disgusting in terms of its potential. This is one that I had to include on my top 5. Moving forward to number 3, we've got the Subtlety Rogue. This is another specialization that's just performing phenomenally across the board in the game, be it PvE or PvP. But obviously on this, it's the purpose of this is the PvP list. How it's doing well in PvP is, again, conduits that increase its survivability. Things like the Slice and Dice conduit to then allow Slice and Dice to heal you, similarly to Cataclysm Recuperate. I'm seeing a lot of flashbacks to the previous expansions for these specializations. The Frost Mage with Ice Lance spam, feeling a lot like Cataclysm Frost Mage. And then the Subtlety Rogue with the return of the Slice and Dice Conduit has Recuperate. Find Weakness is now baseline. Its single target damage is just spectacular. And it's carrying over the power that it had from Battle for Azeroth, like stunning everybody on the other team, setting up for your teammates, and then also being able to power down targets with poisons coming back baseline. I do think Subtlety Rogue is likely to make a return, a strong return, and I don't know if it's going to get nerfed much more because it's already been nerfed, and it's still great. Things like the Necrolord Covenant, getting the Bone Spike, which is just an infinite dot. Whether or not that ends up being the go-to, right now it seems like a really good one, especially for PvP, but this new one, the Flagellation one for Venthyr, may step up because Subtlety Rogues are all about their Eviscerate damage, so keep your eyes on the Covenants here, because to me, Serrated Bone Spike is kind of just like a no-brainer. It's really good, but Flagellation from Venthyr could ultimately end up being a good choice as well if you want to go for big Mark for Death, double massive Eviscerate combos. That would set you up for that, but Bone Spike's probably a little bit more ease of use. This is a specialization that you really can't ignore. It's got solid defensive cooldowns with immunities like Cloak of Shadows and Evasion that were, of course, already in the kits, but carrying over on top of the other things that it's getting from Shadowlands, it just feels really good. Its talents have been opened up a lot now, with talents becoming baseline. It's super fun. It's always been a super fun specialization. It just kind of niche in these like really bursty all-in comps. Now it's got that niche and it's got that standardized damage output. And in my mind, I'm not sold that it's a specialization that's going to get nerfed much more than it already has. Coming in at number 2, the Shadow Priest. This is a specialization that seems to be like the favorite child of Shadowlands right now. I guess the expansion is named after it, right? This is a specialization that in the past had troubles getting to its maximum ramp damage in Void form, casting a lot, being interrupted and stunned. A lot of that is no longer a problem because you're not going to be ramping anymore to your Void form. You'll spend Insanity on Devouring Plague instead, which is a powerful disease, which also heals the Shadow Priest. And this new damage over time effect, I say new, but Devouring Plague existed in the past. You can think back to when they used to have orbs and you would do a 3 orb Devouring Plague. Now it's Insanity instead, and you can spread them onto targets or stack them on a target, get massive damage out with that. And with talent changes like Damnation, it basically will apply Vampiric Touch, Shadow Word Pain, and Devouring Plague to the target instantly. So, and then you have another talent, Unfurling Darkness, which then when you cast Vampiric Touch makes your next Vampiric Touch instant cast. So a Warrior and a Death Knight run at you, Damnation, they're all dotted, and then Unfurling Darkness, the other guy is dotted, and I didn't even have to deal with getting kicked. And then also I'm healing myself for a huge amount because those damage over time effects also heal the Shadow Priest. This is just a specialization that is all around really durable, doing tons of damage, has guaranteed instant crowd control, has excellent utility. One of its conduits to reduce the mana cost of its aggressive purge by 20% is massive in PvP. You can basically do everything. You are the Swiss Army knife of PvP. The only thing you really can't do is move very fast, although if you play Venthyr, which you likely will, you got Door of Shadows, so you've even got that going for you. This is a specialization that also seems like it would be difficult to nerf. I'm curious if they do decide to do any PvP specific tuning, or when and if they decide to, or if they're going to just try and tune the classes for the game broadly as they have been. Because tuning it specifically would require a lot of attention and tailoring to it. But broadly, I don't know if you would nerf it because of its performances potentially in PvE. So again, it's one that I think will likely carry over in its power, unlike that of something like a Marksmanship Hunter, because the Marksmanship Hunter is basically all downsides outside of its massive damage at the moment that just seems overtuned. But Shadow Priest seems like it would be a good pick. And then coming in, the number 1 Shadowlands Beta PvP spec. Give me a drum roll. That's a drum roll. Here we go. Number 1, the Discipline Priest. You didn't think it was going to be a healer, did you? This is a healer that can heal pretty much anything. class stacking, play with Shadow Priest, doesn't matter. It does insane healing. It had its focused will buffed, which means when you're attacked, you take less damage. It's now up to 30% damage reduction when you're attacked. Its atonement healing is amazing. Mind Games does massive damage. It's like a 15k crit. Players on average on the beta, 30,000 health. That's half of someone's health. And then the secondary effect of the Mind Games can also do 8,000 damage. It's all around a really fun spec and a dominant spec. Even if it wasn't as strong as it is, it's super fun. And you check that out on my recommended spec video, and that's why I put it there. But it's also a top performer when it comes to PvP. You're never going to lose a 1v1 with pretty much any class if you're interested in that. But of course, I'm a little bit more focused in this video with competitive 3v3. It has amazing synergies with pretty much every good spec in the game. Rogue Mage Priest, Rogue Hunter Priest, Shadow Priest Mage Discipline Priest, even Shadow Priest Hunter Discipline Priest. I mean, you can stack pretty much anything with this. This is a healer that just is above and beyond the best at the moment, and it's super good. It's super fun. On top of that, it's gonna be a really fun specialization. I'm hoping that it doesn't end up getting toasted like it kind of did a few months into BFA, if people remember that, because I played Discipline Priest at the start of BFA, felt really awesome, and then it got that one period where it was like, oh, okay, Discipline Priests don't exist anymore. So hopefully this is one where, because it is so much above and beyond the other healing specializations, it doesn't get just completely guttered down to the basement. But as it stands right now in the Shadowlands beta, I would have to put this as the #1 PvP spec overall, just due to its versatility, due to its overall power and performance. It's an amazing specialization. So I hope you enjoyed the video here with my top 5 Shadowlands beta PvP specs. If you did, please leave the video with a like. Comment down below on what you think, if there was a specialization that should have been taken off, so it should have been added in, what you think are your personal top 5s that you've checked out. I would love to hear it down in the comments. Other than that, please consider subscribing to the channel if you like Shadowlands content, as I'm uploading every single day. And if you would like to check out any of my other videos, I have a link to my playlist with all of my reviews. So if you want to check out in detail a specialization and what's happening, those are going to be the ones you want to go after. I've got them as like a podcast style. You can chill and listen to them while you're doing something else. And then more specifically tailored, my tier lists. These ones are going to be like dictating performance and how fun is something, based on my own testing and based on my own research of other content creators, to try and give you as much information as possible so that you can make the decision to best suit your own personal gameplay when Shadowlands actually comes out. Because with an MMORPG, you're going to have a lot of character investment. You're going to spend a lot of time with that character. You want to make sure that it's the right fit for you, your gameplay, and your overall enjoyment, and how long you'll be able to enjoy it. I think those are all very important aspects of it. So that's the main purpose of the channel. And if that interests you, check out those videos and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.